I'm in the mood, I'm feeling rude, I'm feeling hot, I want to run. The feeling exciting, so darling, let's do something. I wanna rub my body on your body. Body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub and love up. I wanna rub and kiss up. I wanna rub and jam up. I wanna rub and rub up. I wanna rub my body on your body. Rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body. Rub my body on your body. I just get paid. I want to play. The vibes is right. I wanna hug up tight. No time to waste. I wanna work my ways. So come on now, babes. Give me a taste. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub and love up. I wanna rub and kiss up. I wanna rub and jam up. I wanna rub and rub up. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Well, you know, I'm feeling, 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 I'm feeling.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Killian Mall, 162 Lamaha Street, in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins Firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins Firm.
Making the short video for send to you and the viewers and listeners. All know we punishing in Guyana. Punishing. Rice gone up, sugar gone up, flour gone up, cost of living just gone up, gas gone up from 3,400 to 3,800. Real hungry days under this installed PPP government. Real hungry days we gone back to. Guyanese? Oh! Real hungry days, real hungry days.
Good afternoon to all my Facebook friends. Today I am doing this video for my fellow workers to understand that the government of today is not for the working class people. I am saying this simply because all of us are aware that our official from the government yesterday or a few days ago make some announcement, and one of the announcements is to give the severance people maybe $250,000. I have no problem with those giving the severance people money, but my problem is these workers already receive all their benefits, and most of them are working in different estates. End of the day, I have a problem with that. Recently, the agriculture minister says that in order for this industry to survive, we need $1.6 billion. And if this is true, how come this official can come and give out money just like that? This is a problem. Mind you, we at Albion, our estate were under flood condition. Tremendously, workers are suffering at Albion. We can't warn as we ought to. And so this is a problem right now. For the longest while, we do not have a wage increase. And we believe that this announcement, all sugar workers supposed to benefit off of this announcement. And rightly, I am demanding now my $250,000 because all of us deserve this money right now.
All right. Hey, guess what? Very pleasant good evening to all of you. That cane harvester, I call them cane engineers. That's the more sophisticated kind of modern description of sugar workers. I remember back in the days, a very long time ago, before many of you were born, Chanel Smith and Daniels and Amanda Hope and all the young folks who are actually watching this show. Way before they were born, the description of sugar, we used to describe them as cane cutters. And then from cane cutters, they are being described as sugar harvesters. Now, from sugar harvesters, they are being described as sugar workers to sugar harvesters. And now I am giving them this new term, sugar engineers. And I say this to all of the young people who don't remember the days when we used to call them cane cutters, right? I've noticed, some of the young politicians who don't like to go out and do much of the work out there in the streets, in the trenches, and so forth and so on, right? I am watching some of them because there are some young politicians, or quote unquote young politicians, who are worse than the old politicians. So I'm watching that as well. Let me know if you're hearing me loud and clear, because I know we have cousin Bundari's friend is on the screen, and there is a reason for that. Before we get to our guest, Norman Brown. Norman Brown is originally from Linden, and I just want you guys to know this loud and clear, that Norman Brown is originally from Linden. He's an activist. He's been in the trenches. He is going to talk about human rights issues. We are not going to get personal with Norman Brown, whether he's married, whether he's not. It's none of our business here at all. But let me just say to you guys that don't mistake his accent. He's not a born British. He's actually from Linden. from one of them, either Christianburg or down in Forest Alley or up the hill or somewhere, right? I see some of you Londoners are already saying my Londoners and all these different things. But there's a reason why this guy's face is up there. But before I get into that, let me just thank you guys so much. Thank you all so much for sharing the link. And welcome to a serious discussion forum. Welcome to a mature audience, a mature program where you get all of the information that you need in preparation for elections, whether local government elections or whether it is the general and regional elections. All right. So, hey, guess what? Whilst I want you guys to, mind you, because Mr. Norman Brown is with us. Our executive producer has said that he's in studio with us. They're putting on his makeup. They're fixing him up. It's not like me, it doesn't take much to fix up, but they have to fix him up. All right? They're fixing him up. But I want you guys to enjoy this tune as we dedicate it to this guy, Anil Nandalal, who has been losing lots and lots and lots and lots of cases. The man, like, he's got to get warm out, politically warm out, or drink some Senapad or something of that nature. The guy has been losing too many cases. Lots of cases. It's like he can't argue cases. He just can't argue cases. And then some of you think that he's a bright liar. I don't know. Could somebody just turn the lights on or something? I don't know what sort of brilliant lawyer they talk. He's been losing a lot of cases. Lots of cases he's been losing. And guess what? We've got to play a song for him, man, because I know he's probably throwback. He's watching this show because they don't have anything other than this show to watch right now, right? And this is where they learn good things from and good politics from, right? It is a fact. So we'll play this tune for Anil, whilst you guys who haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So whenever we're live, you'll get that notification. We'll be right back. This tune, you can dance to it, but it's really for Anil Nandalal. Hey, quite fitting for a guy who has been losing all those cases, man. All those cases. Nandalal, I can just imagine how you feel, man. All those cases, hat tricks, whop, 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 looks like peas. And if those elections petition cases have been gone or were in front of, a chief justice that had what it takes to actually dismiss the PPP's case as it pertains to the elections petition, we would have gone right into elections already. Right into elections. Norman Brown, I don't know what your middle name is. I've never asked you, but I pray to God that it's not Anthony. Good evening, and what's your middle name, man? Let's begin with that.
Actually, Mark, you're going to laugh. But first of all, let me thank you for inviting me on your show. It's a privilege. I know this is one of the most popular shows in Guyana. And of course, I know that you are an activist of renown, of great renown. And I have been inspired by your work as an activist over the years, over the decades. I want to say thank you. But my middle name is Kwame.
No, 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 no,
It's
no, no, no. You know, they got
it's
some. No, no, wait a
it's
minute. They got some. I've been watching some funny stuff and some funny videos, and there's this kind of guy with an annoying voice, like no, 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 no. Kwame, are you
Yes, Kwame.
serious?
Yeah, yeah.
So there
But
is this. So there is this softer side of you,
there
right?
isn't a softer side. I was named after Kwame Nkrumah, or somewhere in the Nkrumah, but the great Ghanaian leader back in the day. So I was named after him. I am not the Kwame that
I
is in.
never, I never, all I said, I wasn't insinuating anything at all, but Kwame, from now on, Norman, I will be calling you by your middle name, right? Kwame. Hey, Kwame, how are you? Kwame Brown.
Yeah, it's
Kwame.
Norman
Hey,
Kwame Brown, and I'm proud
you
of
guys are making me feel old. You have fashioned your activism after me. Sherrod Duncan has fashioned his show after learning, as he claimed he learned from me, right? So a lot of you guys are making me feel really, really old. Anyways, Kwame, let us, Mr. Norman Brown. Good evening and welcome to Straight Up. I know
Good
you're no
evening,
stranger.
Mark. Thank
I
you for
know,
having me.
yes, and I know it's almost it's after 2 in the morning your time, and I
Yes.
salute you for staying up just to be with us to talk to our listeners as well. Let us begin with this. People already know who you are, but we are not going to spend much time on that. I want us to begin with this here, Mr. Brown, because there is this big protest that is coming up next Monday, which is the 18th of October in the United Kingdom. Talk a little bit about this protest and invite all those who are over there in London and neighboring areas out there in London to come out and join that protest.
Thank you once again, Mark, and a special good night to your viewers, your thousands and thousands of viewers. I want to extend a special good night to all of you. Look, this protest is called because of human rights violations that are happening in Guyana under this 1-year-old regime, this dictatorship, this wicked government that has set out to oppress, suppress, murder, and destroy African Guyanese in Guyana in particular, and to stifle the voices of all Guyanese who are not their supporters. We are at a juncture in Guyana where many have said to me, Mark Benschop, that there seems to be no real opposition, and that those of us like yourself, Wickford Burke, Sherrod Duncan, and Dr. David Hines, Lincoln Lewis, and some others are the real opposition. But of course, as we see the brutality escalates in Guyana, as we see the oppression of African Guyanese, as we see the government or the regime, the installed regime, pressuring public servants, pressuring black professionals, sacking them, arresting opposition members of parliament, killing, using their police force to kill black men. We believe that it is time that the world sees what is happening. And this protest is about that. It's about highlighting the injustices. It's about highlighting the brutalities that are visited on African Guyanese in particular, and Guyanese who are opposed to this installed regime in general. And so I want to say that it has been called, and Mark, I have to thank you also for playing a part in inspiring this protest that that will be on the 18th. As we have done a lot of work back in the day, many young people do not know that, and it's unfortunate that today young people who were babies when we were fighting a 23-year-old dictatorship today must be visited by a reality that we would have experienced in the past. And so I want to call on everyone in the UK. I want to say to everyone, Guyanese in the UK, and Caribbean people who are interested in the struggles in Guyana, to please come out and join this protest to expose this wicked regime that is killing our people in Guyana.
And you have said it, a wicked, installed regime. It is installed because the elections results went in another direction based on what we saw at the recount process. After the recount process, minus all of the rotten votes, this installed regime, I just want to ensure that our listeners and viewers are reminded of this fact, that the results after the elections, the recount process, minus all of the rotten votes, minus the thousands of questionable votes, the coalition would have been back in office. Now, what the Guyana Elections Commission chairperson did was to include all of the rotten votes, all of the spoiled votes, counted every single thing. God in heaven knows why. And so that is why today the PPP is being described as an installed regime. The US State Department described them as being installed. If you go back and you check that recent US State Department report, you would see that it says nothing, absolutely nothing about a democratically elected government or a democratically elected president. They have never, maybe for the first time in a long time, the US State Department, and someone can challenge me up on that if it is inaccurate, what I'm saying. But the US State Department report described this current regime in Guyana as being installed and not democratically elected. Were you surprised when you saw that description, Mr. Brown?
I am not surprised. I wasn't surprised, and I'm not surprised now, Mark. There is a new administration in the US, and the world understands that will promote democracy, it will promote the rule of law, it will promote the right to life, and it would promote the aspects of justice that is needed in every society, whether it's in the so-called third world countries or in the developed world. We have to understand that during the Trump administration, that is where the PPP would have been bolstered and would have been helped to get into office. It was a racist administration. Americans know, especially African Americans know that it was a racist administration, and that it would have been involved in regime change in Guyana. We would recall, Mark, the events during the elections when those diplomats from the foreign missions, the American ambassador to Guyana, the consulate of Canada, and of course, the UK High Commissioner would have been integrally involved in the lawlessness to ensure that the PPP would have gotten into office. We will not forget that. But of course, under this new administration, there is hope that things would be done differently. I want to say that when we look back at what transpired during the last elections, I believe, and this is my opinion, that if it were up to me, that another fresh elections should have been called and would have been called, because it was a sham of an elections. It was a sham of an elections. So many discrepancies, so many irregularities. But of course, the PPP was very, very vocal, powerful, and kind of active in pushing the narrative that they had won the elections with, and they had the support, of course, of the international community, CARICOM, especially Barbados, among others, and the rest is history. I am not surprised in answering your question that the statement would have been made today, because truthfully, the PPP, in my estimation, in my opinion, in my view, did not win the last elections.
I guess a lot of people will agree with you. Those who are burying their heads in the sand, they are some people who do that for obvious reasons. Some are for doing it for opportunistic reasons and so forth, with a bowl of soup or maybe some sort of connection, some sort of sweetness that they're getting. But let me ask you this. On the ground in the UK, in London and other areas, what are the sentiments of the people as it pertains to the installed regime in Guyana? How do they view these individuals in office?
But I think, Mark, to answer that question, I want to expand a bit. I think the entire diaspora knows that this is not a legitimate government. I think the entire diaspora knows that this is not a government of the people. Today, they're seeing the manifestations of a brutal regime. They're seeing the manifestation of a corrupt government, albeit an installed government. They're seeing the manifestations of the wickedness being perpetrated on the Guyanese people, African Guyanese in particular. In the UK, people are not as politically savvy as those in the United States and on the ground in Guyana. Of course, we are far away. People keep abreast with the events and the issues, but I have to admit that during my years of activism, and it has been for decades, the support has never been like it would be or would have been in the United States and in other parts of the world where Guyanese are at. I hope today that the Guyanese in the UK recognize the gravity of the situation, recognize the seriousness of what is happening, and that they would respond with feet on the ground come the 18th to stand up and to condemn a government of wicked people, wicked leaders who have been in office before and have visited atrocity after atrocity on the Guyanese people. And today they are back in office, albeit illegally. And within 1 year, we see what is happening. They are killing Black people. Mark, I am not saying this with water in my mouth. I am not saying this because I'm trying to impress on anyone. It is there. It is there for all to see. This government, through its police force, is killing Black people. From the time they got into office, with the situation with the Henry boys, the slaughter of the Henry boys, coming down to all the killings, coming down to Oren Boson, who they shot in his bed in cold blood, to our young brother yesterday, Kevin Andrews. This must say to Guyanese in the UK, it is time to act. It is time to stand up. It is time to walk the walk and to register our disappointment and disapproval in a regime that should not be in office.
All right, Mr. Norman Brung is here with us. We're talking rights issues, human rights violations, and so forth in Guyana. And let me just quickly bring this here. This is what family members are saying about the police killing of this young man, Mr. Andrews. They're saying that family members, that is, are saying that the man was already in handcuffs when killed. Now, if this is accurate, and I've been hearing this report from a lot of people that they placed him in handcuffs, they shot him, they killed him, it's murder. It's murder that cannot be accepted at all. It is unacceptable. It is extrajudicial killings. It is illegal killing. It is murder. And those policemen responsible for this. Now, I don't care. Don't tell me that he's a known character to the police, because Irfan Ali is a known character to the police. Anil Nandalal is a known character to the police. In fact,
Kwame McCoy is a known character to the police.
Your namesake Kwame is a character, a known character to the police. So don't tell me that because of that, and because they were after him allegedly for some stolen items. Anil Nandalal had stolen items. I don't know. What is your take on these sort of brazen police killings now? And the PPP obviously are quiet about it, which is a sign that they are condoning these acts.
I would go further to say, Mark, I would go further to say that they're not only condoning those acts, they are behind as the intellectual authors of this violence, state violence perpetrated on African Guyanese in particular. I will go as far. But I want to make this point very clear. The PPP has been and is very cautious in how it begins its butchery of African Guyanese in Guyana. The PPP force check, they force test, they force look at those who are there to represent their supporters. And they would test them. And if they're found wanting, the PPP will unleash on the opposition supporters and African Guyanese the brutality that is being unleashed today. I want to say this. I want to make this very pellucid. Everything that is happening, that is perpetrated by Barjagdio, Anil Nandlal, Irfan Ali, and those known leaders in the PPP who were there presiding over the slaughter of Africans, more than 400 Africans, the death of young black men, the disappearance of young black men during those days when you were most active in the struggle, when you would have felt the pain, when you would have stood and you would have suffered. You stood up and you would have suffered. These are the same people back in office. But the question to your viewers is this. If I am placed there to protect a property, and I am prepared and equipped to protect that property, and that property is destroyed, who must I hold accountable? I must first hold accountable those that are there to protect that property. Because anything that invades that property must first pass the protectors of that property. And I'm saying this, Mark, because I am terribly disappointed in the leadership of our opposition, of which I support, of which I see myself as a part of. I am terribly disappointed in the leadership, its reactions and responses to the violence that is increasing and the brutality that is escalating in Guyana, and the sort of silence in terms of the reaction that the people are calling for. This is a situation where you cannot place the box squarely at the foot of the PPP or the feet of the PPP, because we already know that the PPP is the enemy. We understand that this is expected from the People's Progressive Party. What we didn't understand, that this would be allowed to happen when our vanguards are there to stop that madness, to put a barricade up to prevent these rude invaders in the PPP from doing what they're doing today. And so it is very, very disappointing.
All right, Mr. Norman Brown, our guest this evening, Norman Kwame Brown, is with us at 35 minutes after 9 o'clock. A good point in terms of the sort of leadership that we find in the coalition to confront the PPP regime. People want to see not just more action, people want to see real action. People want to see real boots on the ground, so forth and so on. Unfortunately, we're not seeing that. Some of them may disagree with us. They're entitled to their opinions, mind you. But the truth is what it is. They need to put more boots on the ground. And I want to make this point clear. This is not to suggest that there are not a couple of MPs who aren't working. There are some MPs who are working, and I salute them. I respect and I salute them. One of them was just on this show, Dinesh Jaiprashad, who is on this show every single week, every single Tuesday night. Kudos to you, Dinesh Jaiprashad. The Boston killing, Mr. Brown, the Boston killing, still no justice. The family crying out for justice. I spoke earlier with a family member, still no justice. The police seem to they're attempting to push this under the rug. I'm not sure that the family is going to get justice. But what is your take, sir?
I'll tell you what my take is, Mark, and I want your viewers to understand this. And I know that you have a wide cross-section of viewers in Guyana, tens of thousands of viewers. And that's why I appreciate that, you would have offered me this opportunity on your program to speak. Look, let me say this to you. From the inception when the Henry boys were killed, and nothing happened, it gave the PPP that carte blanche ticket to do whatever they want to do. When we were growing up in our community, the older folks used to say, "I pass does grow." So if you push your finger in my eye and I ain't do nothing about it, the next time you're gonna slap me. If the next time you slap me and I ain't do nothing about it, you're going to kick me down the next time. And there will be no stopping to what you will do to me, what you would do to me. Look, Mark, look. We have seen from the time the PPP got into
let me just pause you there for a quick minute. They seem to have some fire somewhere in Georgetown.
We're coming live from Camp Street behind the Footstep store. Hey, Riyadh, hey, no, Daniel, no. This is, the scene is getting...
Another fire.
We're all trying to assist here. And there's public service citizens that are helping the Guyana Fire Service. The Guyana Fire Service, I must say, is doing a good job to contain this fire.
All right. Another fire is happening right now. Sorry about that I had to cut you, Mr.
That's
Brown.
fine. That's fine.
Another fire happening right now on Camp Street. Those of you who are familiar with the Camp Street area, it's just about 3 or 4 blocks away from the prison. If you're heading on the northern side of Camp Street, it's coming back towards Regent Street. It's two blocks before Regent Street. So this fire right now where it's happening between you guys help me out with Georgetown, but it's between I know it's right opposite Citizens Bank, right opposite Citizens Bank. I know the streets, but it's just not coming to my lips at this moment. Behind Footsteps, it is probably closer to where Dr. Joey Jagan's dental service is. And so Another fire. We've heard that the firefighters are there doing their job, and let us see how this turn out. Continue if you do remember where you left off. Please do. We're going to get back.
Let me say,
Go ahead.
Mark, let me say,
Yeah.
those who follow me would know I wrote on my Facebook page more than a week ago about a dream. And the title of the piece is Crimson Sky. And in that dream, I saw the city burning. I saw Guyana burning. I saw two black children with bedraggled clothing and alone. And they were standing on a hill overlooking the oil industry in Guyana. And I asked them why they're not at home with their mom and their dad. And one of them said to me that my dad was shot and killed and my mom has gone mad. So I said, let me take you. And as we turn and walk around the corner in the direction in which they pointed, we saw the city burning. We saw the city burning. And the young boy held my hand and he said, let us wait until the fire is over before we go home. It is on my Facebook page. It is written there. The dates and everything is on it. So I'm not making it up. Mark, oppression deserves a response. And when people's backs are against the wall, when they have nowhere to run, nowhere to turn, they will go forward and they will fight. I am saying this on your show tonight. I am saying that we must not face another 23 years of the hegemonic rule we faced under the PPP. We must not face another year of where the police would continue to kill black men, would continue to kill black men the way the American police killed George Floyd. When you look at the slaughter, the extrajudicial murder of Mr. Andrews yesterday, he was in handcuffs. I understand. I spoke with his wife, his fiance, on my program, and she made it clear. They killed him while he was in handcuffs. This is the way the PPP operates when they're in government. They create what you call a police state, Mark, because that police state is to drive fear into the opposition. It's to drive fear into the supporters of the opposition. And it is to drive fear into the leaders of the country so that they would be not able to act. They would not be able to respond because they themselves are afraid. I want to say this, Mark. The death of Mr. Andrews is no different to the killing of George Floyd in the United States. But you saw the outcry. You saw the reaction. Enough was enough. And Black America and white America and all of America marched on Washington. They said enough was enough. The point I'm making to you, the killing of Mr. Andrews is as brutal and gruesome and as astounding as the killing of George Floyd in the United States. To date, Benschop Show 107.1 FM is talking about it. Today, Dr. Hines is talking about it. Today, Rickford Burke in the United States is talking about it. I am talking about it. What is the opposition saying? What confidence are they causing their supporters to have that says to the supporters, this is happening, but there's hope because we have a strong opposition that will not tolerate the violence that is increasing and the brutality that we're faced with. There's a void, Mr. Benschop. There is a void in the leadership acting so that people can believe and be confident that this will not continue. The deaths of the Henry boys, the killing of Aubrey Norton, yesterday the killing of Mr. Andrews, it is business as usual. Lawyers are saying we're going to take this to the courts. But look what is happening, Mark. The PPP is doing what they do best. They are killing black people. They are causing the nation to be gripped by fear. They're causing black people to have no choice but to succumb to their pressures, to unwillingly support them, and to some extent, black officials afraid to speak because they fear losing their jobs. Members of parliament in the opposition, Mr. Benschop, are afraid to confront the PPP because they're afraid that they would be arrested because they believe that the PPP is so serious that they would do what they say they're going to do, but they are not sure that their own house in the opposition is serious to retaliate in a fashion and in like manner that says to the PPP, we have to stop you in your tracks. What is happening today, Mr. Benschop, what has happened to Mr. Andrews will be the same results that we got from the deaths of the Henry boys, the death of Mr. Boson. The families are left reeling from the anguish and agony. Their nights and days will no longer be normal. Their lives have changed for the worse. They live with the memory of something that should not be visited on anyone, coming from state police, coming from those who are there to protect. Rajiv Gandhi, Mark, said, addressing the people in terms of the law, the rule of law, and so on in India. He said, when the fence begins to eat the crops, there is no protection, there is no security. The fence is there to protect the crops. It is there to protect the crops from cows and goats that would go in there and eat the crops. But the fence itself begins to eat the crops. The government and its police are killing the people that it is tasked to protect and serve. And they're doing this, Mark Benschop, because there is no opposition. Now you can say, and I will not dispute your view, that we have some good working members of parliament. We have serious people in parliament. But I ask the question, Mark, and I ask it to your viewers, and I ask it to the opposition. Where is the evidence, the tangible evidence of your work at a time that is most crucial in our history, where human lives are being snuffed out, and it is business as usual? Look, Mark, let me say this. Permit me, if you would allow me. Let me say this to you. I I'm a supporter of the opposition. That will not change. There is one thing in this life, in my lifetime, that I would never do, Mark. Never do. Is to support the PPP. If Jesus come and said to me that the PPP is a change party, you should support them, I will walk past every church. I will run around corners from churches, because I will not accept that position even from Jesus. The point I'm making to you is this, Mark. I know and we know that the PPP's agenda is a corrupt one. We know that the PPP is a racist government that has no love for Black people. We know that the people that the African Guyanese that the PPP have in that party are a convenience of the PPP, to show as if, they're a multiracial party and so on. We see the agenda. We understand what they're doing. And so I am saying, Mark, on your program tonight, more than what the PPP is doing and getting away with and being allowed to do unchecked, more than what they're doing, I am more angry at those who are tasked to represent us, to protect our rights, to fight for a better day for us socially and economically. Where is Mr. Granger? Where is Joseph Harmon? Today, Mark, we are seeing that the party is more concerned about getting rid of a stalwart that the supporters want to lead them, because they believe that leader in the party is the answer that will bring the PPP to their knees and perhaps win the next election.
Let me say this to you,
yes.
that is not. You're talking about getting rid of Aubrey Norton as his position as some director, the leader of the opposition.
Executive director.
No, executive
yes.
director.
Yeah.
Now, he has not. Has he said whether he was gotten rid of? Has he said whether he was kicked out? Has he said, did he leave to campaign? Did they come to some understanding? So we've got to be reasonable in terms of saying that he was kicked out because they're afraid of him. But let me allow you to answer. Did you hear that directly from him? Or
no,
I
haven't, Mark. I haven't spoken to Aubrey, but I want to make this pellucid. If I come on your program and you highlight an issue, the credibility of your program allows me to believe that there is some sort of truth to what you're saying. There is something to what you're saying that I can buy. Right? I am saying this to you, that the information I got from what I would think is a credible source is that Mr. Norton was relieved of his position.
I hope, Norman, and this is not to be funny or discredit you, my friend. I hope your source is not the same source that told you that Hamilton Green died.
No, Mark, I don't want you to make light of what I'm saying.
All I'm saying to you is that Mr. Norton has this tendency.
I think you're questioning.
One second. Mr. Norton has this tendency to come out, to confront situations. It has been 48 hours going on 72 hours. He has said absolutely nothing about that. Hence my reason for saying that I'm going to treat it with a grain of salt.
The party operates in a way that in situations such as those, they are not immediately forthcoming in dealing with those issues in the public. You would respect and recognize that there are things there are interests that you have to protect. The interests of the party as a whole. If Mr. Norton is sacked from the party, Mr. Norton jumps out there at the moment and said, they sacked me and they hurt me and they did this to me. Mr. Norton is contributing to the fracturing of the party more than what they did to him. And therefore,
one quick second.
yeah.
One quick second, Mr. Brown. Let's get straight to the matter here now. Mr. Norton is here. You're live on the air, Mr. Norton. There is an issue myself and Mr. Brown are trying to get cleared up so that our listeners could get to the truth of it. Mr. Brown said, and we have been following some rumor, that you were actually removed or kicked out or fired as executive director of the leader of the opposition office. Is that correct or not, sir?
The most I can do is tell you what happened. Essentially, the leader of the opposition and I met, and I had asked him for a one-on-one with him. When we met, I should go back. Before I began campaigning, I spoke to the leader of the opposition, asked him if he was running. He said no. I said to him, I will run. He said he had no problem, so I began to campaign. I know that he was under pressure to get rid of me, but in fairness to him, he didn't, because since about May, June, people had been pressuring. So when I returned from the United States, he and I met, and we talked, and I said to him I will be in election campaign mode from November. He said to me that he wants to bring a researcher into the office. He also agreed with me that I will still continue to help MPs and to do some work for them pro bono. And we agreed that on the 31st of October this year, that I will no longer be a paid staff member at the leader of the opposition office. As far as I know, he and I made a mutual agreement, but some wicked person that I sense I know is who put out there that I was fired. That is the reality of what happened.
Mr. Aubrey Norton, I will have you back on my show sometime this week. I will call you. We'll talk about that, but thanks for the clarification, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown, we've heard there from Mr. Aubrey Norton, live and direct about that particular situation. He said he was not fired. They have an understanding.
Well, Mark,
he's campaigning. He is.
I will not disagree with Aubrey in what Aubrey has said. I am not going to say that I don't believe what Aubrey has said. I understand what politics is, but I understand coincidence is a concept I will never entirely trust. And that is all I will say on this matter. Coincidence is not a concept I will and the fact that Aubrey has been matured enough, Aubrey has grown up in that party, and Aubrey's love for that party, Mark, is unprecedented. Aubrey's love for that party is like his navel string is still connected to it, rightly so. And I said to you before Aubrey came on, I said to you that if Aubrey comes out to say that he has been removed from the party because of his challenge, it can cause the party to be fractured. And it would not be the wise thing to do at this juncture. What Aubrey has said tonight is that he's no longer a paid member from the 31st of October. He is no longer a paid member. I translate that to mean, whether it's a mutual agreement or not, I translate that to mean that Aubrey Norton is no longer in the employs of the office of the leader of the opposition. Whatever discussion transpired between Mr. Norton and the leader of the opposition, that discussion was to do with his future as an employee in that office. And whether he agreed or not mutually, the discussion came about because the party felt, or the leader of the opposition felt, that it was no longer feasible for him to be a paid employee within that. But
all right. Well,
let me just finish. Give
that
me a
is 1
second.
second. That is
Give
how.
me-
That is 1 second. That is a matter of your interpretation. Mr. Aubrey Norton spoke on the matter. I think we can go on speculating what was and what if and
But
what.
Mark, I am not speculating anything. I am saying to
We
you.
heard from the man.
But Mark, I am saying
you are
to you.
basically trying to stretch this thing further.
I am
Mr.
not.
Aubrey Norton, if he said he was not fired, he said some wicked person, some individual, mischievous person out there wants to say that he was fired, when in fact he is saying he was not fired. To me, I think that's the end of the matter. This doesn't mean that you're not entitled to your opinion, but I think we're stretching this thing a little
But
too
Mark,
far.
I'm saying to
I still have more questions for you.
Mark, all I'm saying to you, and I said it before Aubrey came on, I said to you that a public explanation from a politician has to come in a form in which you have to look at the interest of the party as a whole, how the party would be affected if a revelation came out in the context. My full understanding is this: Aubrey Norton is no longer in the employees in the office of the leader of the opposition, and the information I got pointed to that. Whether we say he was sacked or not is not the issue. The issue is that coincidentally at a juncture when Mr. Norton is gaining traction, traveling the US, getting support from party supporters in the US at home and elsewhere, that suddenly there is an amicable decision that Mr. Norton must no longer be in the employs of that. And I rest my case.
All right, so we'll move on. I know of cases where and when officials, even in the US, a recent case, a young man who was responsible for community affairs at the mayor's office wanted to run. He ran for office, city council in Queens. He resigned his position. And after he lost, he's now a deputy commissioner. He's back in the employs of the city, the mayor of New York City.
But hopefully, Aubrey's the next leader of the party. Hopefully, he's the next leader of the party and goes on to be the presidential candidate.
1 second, sir.
And the president of Guyana.
One second. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm not shutting.
Well, that's why I'm on your
out.
show. That's why I'm on your show.
Because that's why I haven't asked the next question. You seem to be, going on without me even asking any such question.
Go ahead. I'm listening to you, Mark.
But I want to ask you about the recent fire at the Brigham police station. What is your take on this young man that has claimed that he was beaten to make a confession statement? Your take on that, sir?
I absolutely believe the young man. I understand the MO, the modus operandi of the People's Progressive Party. I understand that the police function at the behest of the government and its political directive. I understand that. That is no speculation given the history of the PPP in the past, and you yourself can testify to that. You have been a victim of the government's directive to the police, and you would have spent almost 5 years in prison, in jail, because of trumped-up charges coming from the political directorate down to the police. And so your viewers must understand that. So there's no question that young man, a confession was beaten out of him. I believe that entirely, as I believe that Mr. Andrews was shot and killed in cold blood while he was in handcuffs, and that Mr. Boston was shot in his bed while he was lying there, next to his wife. No gun, no retaliation or anything. I believe it. I believe it, Mark, that the young man's position that he has, outlaid to the lawyers is the truth. It's the truth, and nothing but the truth.
The truth and nothing but the truth. Mr. Norman Brung is with us. Some people are sending in some videos about another fire. This fire is on Camp Street between Charlotte and Crowell streets. It's at the back of Footsteps, I believe. It's a couple of doors away from Dr. Joey Jagan's dental office. Let us hope everything is okay with the buildings and the people. That's all the information we are getting at this point in time. Mr. Norman Brown doesn't hold back. He gave his opinion as to who he believes will be and should be the next leader of the People's National Congress reform. His horse is he has a horse in the race, and that is Aubrey Compton Norton. Aubrey Compton Norton has gotten an endorsement from Mr. Norman Brown. Mr. Brown, as always, I thank you so much for your time. But is there anything else that we haven't done? I'm looking at the time that we have not discussed that you want to talk about. Go right ahead,
Well,
sir.
no, well, I know. I think that you have offered me the latitude to respond to your questions. I am deeply appreciative of the invite and the time here on the program. But I want to say this before I go, though, Mark. If you will permit me, I want to say this. African Guyanese and supporters of non-supporters of the PPP, let me put it this way, must understand that they have a responsibility to force their elected representatives to act on their behalf, and to act on their behalf in a way that makes them comfortable that they are doing their best to represent them. I believe, Mark, that politicians who are supposed to be there working to ensure that the Guyanese people and their supporters get their just dues socially and economically should not be spending all their time on television, online media programs talking about the wickedness of the PPP or what the PPP is doing. I believe that we have to understand that you have roles and responsibility, and those roles and responsibility are to ensure that you do what you are elected to do in Parliament and on the ground in terms of being the shadow government, being a shadow minister in every aspect, being that voice and that agitator to say this policy is benefiting one set of people, your supporters. This should not happen. Leave the activism. Leave the social media commentary to those of us who are not bedded into a party's directive, into parties. You know, we're not sycophants of a party or anything. We can call a spade a spade. But those leaders, members of parliament that are out there on social media programs should be in parliament and out of parliament, making a representation as shadow representatives to ensure that the rights and what the people deserve is given to them. I want to say this in closing, Mark. I want to say this in closing. I am not, and I believe that the Guyanese people are not, very confident or encouraged by the leadership of the opposition today. I honestly believe it. We see today the atrocities being visited on Guyanese people, black men, opposition supporters, and we see that many are saying, Mark, that the PPP strategy of moving immediately as they got into office to arrest members of parliament, to sack professionals, to threaten them, with jail time that has made those opposition and professionals who are there to represent us afraid to confront the People's Progressive Party. And so there is a void that is left where the people have got to take up that slack, and they're taking up that slack at their own peril. Because now the PPP did not only pressure our leaders and cause fear in their hearts and minds that they don't want to act anymore, they are killing the ordinary people. So really and truly, they are dealing with it in a strategic way. Weaken your leaders, drive fear into your leaders, kill your supporters. Let us see what is going to happen. So they know that the leaders are afraid. The people are at our mercy. We can kill them. Nothing will come out of it. That is where we are today, Mark. And I have to give you, as the host of 107.1, and Dr. David Hines of Politics 101, and Rickford Burke of CGID, and those people that are fighting and filling the void of an opposition that we don't even know where they're at. When you say to me, and I'm going now and I'm closing now, 1 minute, please.
Sure,
when you say to me that Norton is my horse, I have no apologies for being one of the most vocal supporters of Aubrey Norton. You know why? Because I believe that given the reins of leadership, that Mr. Norton will do what we have not seen in terms of our representation and the rights of all Guyanese being respected and confronting dictatorship and wickedness. I believe that Mr. Norton would be exceptional and is in his own league to restore that pride, dignity, that confidence that is needed to confront any dictatorship in Guyana. And I am happy that I have played a part in sounding the call for Mr. Norton to lead the party and to say pellucidly that the leaders in the party at the moment have fallen short, have been weighed in the balance and found wanting. It is time to try a leadership that we believe will act in our interest and on our behalf. I thank you very much for having me on your program. I am deeply honored, Mark, to be in conversation with one of the greatest, and I'm not using words loosely, one of the greatest activists that Guyana has ever seen in its entire history. Not in the 24th century, the 20th century. One of the greatest activists that Guyana has ever seen in its history. And I'm so profoundly proud to have this moment with you and this moment with your guests. And so I am deeply honored and appreciative to be here on your program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Norman Brung, and thanks for all that you do as well. You have been in the trenches. And one of the things that you've mentioned earlier is that in instances of the extrajudicial killings and human rights violations, and why a lot of those MPs are quiet about the issues, it's not like some of them aren't, but most of them are quiet. I have a response to that, Mr. Brown. It's, if you look across the board, look at all of those members of parliament, you'll be lucky if you find a handful of them who are there in the struggle, who understand human rights issues and so forth. They just don't understand the issues. And so I think it is difficult for them to even show some sort of compassion towards these issues. So take, for example, the situation with Mr. Sean Pike. Almost every night I talk about Sean Pike. Every single night. I tell you this, I'm disappointed. Not a word from any member of the coalition. Not a single word. This young man is fighting for his life. He's not too well. Someone said, and I don't want to spread the rumor that he has contracted the coronavirus. I don't know how accurate that is, but it's coming from a very, very reliable source. He's in a jail cell. Not a damn word from the APNU AFC opposition. Not a word. And that's a disappointment. And in terms of human rights issues, if I have to give them a grade, I will give them a failing grade in standing up. Most of them a failing grade. Because look, at this Andres issue, they're probably running away because of the headline, known character. This guy is known to the police. Everybody's known to the police. I am known to the police. I don't know whether you're known to the police out in Linden and other places, but activists are usually known to the police.
Yes, they
Members of parliament are supposed to be known to the police. They have been elected to be in parliament or selected to stand up and represent the interest of the people. They shouldn't be afraid whether they're locked up, whether they go to Brigham police station. Well, there's no longer Brigham lockups, or Camp Street or wherever. That is their job. A lot of them were in New York. They said they're all fired up. I don't know. That's another issue. I get worked up when I talk about these folks, man.
And I agree with you, Mark. But adding to that
Sure.
quickly,
Sure.
that is not the only reason for the ineffectiveness of the opposition MPs. More than 50% of the opposition MPs are there because Mr. Harmon would have accommodated and created an opportunity for them to be there. I know that for a fact. And most of them who are qualified and possess the grit and determination, if given the opportunity to confront the dictatorship, they would do it effectively. But many of them have to follow the agenda of the leader of the opposition. I want to say this to your viewers, and this is the last point. Mr. Harmon, Mr. Joseph Harmon, the leader of the opposition, will never be a leader like Mr. Hoyt or Mr. Burnham, that in times of trouble will confront the PPP. Mr. Harmon does not have that mettle. Many have said Mr. Harmon is compromised. Many have even said before Mr. Harmon left office as a member of the government that Mr. Harmon had a soft spot for those in the echelons of the PPP. I am not saying that that is true. What I'm saying to you, that the proof is in the pudding, and that Mr. Harmon, regardless of what has been happening, has not moved in a robust way, has not moved in a vigilant and a militant way to arrest the excesses of the People's Progressive Party. And I'm saying to you that a lot of MPs there would have been given the blessings of Mr. Harmon for them to be in that position. So whether they want to act or not, the party works according to the hierarchy, and the decision that the party makes coming from the head is what they have to follow. I am saying to you that if the leader up top is weak, you could get soldiers who are trained and ready, but they have to follow orders because that is how it works. And it is important to save Guyana. It's important to save Guyana by not saying that someone has done me a favor or this person is this or this. The problem is greater. You have to move people that are not performing, and you have to try people that you believe that will perform, and that when they disappoint, that you have to act against them in a condign way. We will not see, as Black people, and opposition supporters a brighter day in Guyana with the oil wealth or anything if we don't have strong leadership. If we don't have strong leadership. We don't have strong leadership in Amna Ali. We don't have strong opposition leadership in David Granger. We don't have strong opposition leadership in Joseph Armon. They must go. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Norman Brown. Appreciate the fact that you've taken time out, even though it's approaching 3-4 o'clock in the morning there in the UK. Thank you so much. And let me remind folks about this event that is coming up in London very soon. Mr. Norman Brown is one of the organizers. He's working with scores of people there on the ground. He has taken the lead in this. The protest is next Monday, the 18th of October, 4 p.m. sharp. In the UK, they're protesting against a lot of things. And do go out and join Mr. Brown and others. In fact, we will carry that protest live right here on 107.1 FM. Mr. Brown, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Mark. Thank you for having me. Deeply appreciate it.
Welcome. Mr. Norman Kwame Brown. Norman Kwame Brown, telling it like it is. Norman has his own show. It's called The Voice of the Diaspora, I believe, with Norman Brown. Do check him out whenever you have some time. Tells it like it is. And now, let me say this. Oftentimes, I noticed a comment there from Cheryl Gillis, right? Cheryl is saying, Mark, who you care about? You talk good about them. You don't talk about Mr. Norton. We need to hear the truth about Mr. Norton. Good evening, Cheryl. And nice, I appreciate your comment. I appreciate your comment indeed. That's all I wish to say. I appreciate your comment. At this moment, I have no horse in the race. I need to see others. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't mean that there's anything personal against Aubrey Norton. Absolutely not. It's just that I need to see more horses in the race. You don't expect for me to just throw in my towel because of one horse, because some of you may like that horse, that I have to like that horse. And because I'm not saying anything that you guys want me to say about that horse means that I don't like that horse, right? Just wait and see, right? I just need to see more folks. There is no date for Congress as yet. And I want to hear from some of these candidates. I want to hear what, and that is Congress place. We have to wait for Congress. I want to hear from some of these individuals about things, maybe human rights issues, women's issues, lots of issues. I want to hear from them. I'm not just going to pop up and because of some sort of emotions. I'm not saying that you guys are emotional at all. I'm not. I want to be able to see the others and what they stand for. I'm not going to take a position that Aubrey is the man for them and Aubrey going to take the fight to the PPP and Aubrey could do it. No, I'm not going to do that at all. At this time, I'm just not going to do that. It reminds me of when Mr. Hoyt died sometime on the 22nd of December, 2002. I heard a lot of folks jumped up and they were saying that, okay, thank you so much, Mr. Hoyt. May your soul rest in peace. I heard tons of party people, PNC people, were saying that Robert Orlando Corbin got to deal with them. Robert got to deal with the PPP, right? Robert got to deal with the PPP. Robert has been in the trenches with the PPP, fighting the PPP. He's going to deal with the PPP. Bam, zoom, all sorts of things. And I've been hearing this thing, fight. Ting-a-ling, war start, right? And look what happened. Robert Corbin was not as effective as he ought to have been. And people became disappointed in the leadership of Robert Corbin. Disappointed. That's all I'm saying. I've heard these things before. This is the man for the job. This is the man. When Mr. Granger, my friend, and he was your friend also before, all your friends before, y'all used to cuss me out for Granger. Mark, no, don't say this. And now all of a sudden, y'all turn back now, like a big car, y'all turn back. And because I'm remaining silent, I'm silent watching. I'm watching on. It doesn't mean that I don't agree with some of your criticisms. Of course I do. Of course I believe then that the leadership ought to be stronger. A lot of things I agree with you guys. But I'm just not going to jump into grab a horse and say, this is my horse. I'm not prepared to say Aubrey is my horse. It doesn't mean that at some point in time I'll choose a horse. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe it could be Aubrey. Maybe it could be some other candidate. Maybe. But not at this time. That's all I'm saying. Because disappointments come along very quickly. When the AP and UAFC got into office, oh gosh, the same Harman that some of y'all cussing now, and the same David Arthur Granger that some of y'all cussing out now, they were the best thing since sliced bread, or whatever they say. They were the best thing for y'all. They were, oh yeah, these soldiers gonna deal with the PPP. Them soldiers gonna deal with the PPP. And the soldiers this, and Mr. Granger gonna deal with them. And Mr. Harman, yeah, I don't play around with Mr. Harman. You know, he was part of the what do you call it, intelligence branch of the Guyana Defense Force, and Harman gonna deal with them, and Granger gonna deal with them, and all them soldiers gonna deal with them. You think the PPP easy? Them soldiers gonna deal with them. And then, you know, the disappointments. A lot of cases you guys wanted to be closed, open, and get justice for family members. Ronald Waddle, Courtney Crummy Wing, and all these different things. The AFC held a wake, a big wake. And they spoke about the justice just a couple of days before elections. They called people out to go out and vote, and we're going to get justice for Courtney Crummy Wing. They're out of office now, forced out of office. Still no justice for Courtney Crummy Wing. Still no justice for Ronald Waddle. Still no justice for no one. But it's the same soldiers y'all were hogging up. Some of y'all were shining their boots. Harman was the man. Granger was the man. Now all of a sudden, y'all throwing them under the bus. And y'all want me to help y'all throw them under the bus for another horse that y'all like. And if Aubrey Norton were to become the leader of the PNCR, 6 months down the line, if y'all don't like what he's about, y'all gonna want, I join with y'all too, to throw Aubrey Norton under the bus. Y'all take y'all time and choose a leader, not out of emotions. And I'm not saying this to be disrespectful to any of you guys. Look at what they stand for on issues that are close to your heart. That is all I'm saying. Because who knows, there may be other persons who are preparing to get into the race that we haven't heard of as yet. They may be females. Who knows? That is all I'm saying. Let the race, let them set a date for the race. Let the race start. Let us get some debates and let us choose a leader out of what is it that they stand for. Don't tell me that we should choose a leader because this man or this woman going to confront the PPP. That they're going to confront the PPP. And when that person gets in there, they're going to say, nah, man, no street protest, no boots on the ground, and then y'all become disappointed again. Maybe because I'm older now and a bit wiser, and I understand the politicking. All I'm saying, y'all be cautious. Be cautious. Somebody's asking, who would I pick right now? There's no one to pick. I'm not going to make a choice right now. I'm just not going to make a choice right now. I'm not going to make a choice right now. Thank you. Now, let us move on. Yaling back me na corner. Let us move on. Let us move on. Look at this here. If this is true, then it is wrong. Blackbush poll, the distribution of money, taxpayers' money, you got to go to a mandir or a masjid. In Blackbush poll, Yakashari, Johanna, Lesbi Holland, Maibi Curie, and so forth. In Cumberland, that is Kanji, you got to go to either a mandir or a masjid, or in number 19 village. And so I don't know. I hope this is not true. I simply hope it is not true. If it is true, then it is bad. It is horrible. Look at this other thing here. Look at what they're saying. Coalitions unconscionable. Wrong to sugar workers being corrected. Look who's saying this. This political vagabond, Barra Jagdev, is saying that. Question for those Jagabats. This came out from one of those websites, I believe, Lisa Edwards or Guyana Truth and Facts and those websites. Look at what the truth is. Who closed 4 sugar estates before 2015 because of failed policies and corruption? Jack Deal and the PPP. Come on, man. Come on, guys. Come on. Come on. Don't allow these folks to fool you. 13 billion of taxpayers' monies. $13 billion in 1 year. $13 billion in 1 year. Shame on the PPP. Shame on the PPP. Look at this. Monkey. Whoever Monkey is. Monkey says straight up with Mark Benschop, will you come home to Guyana to vote at the PNC Congress? Monkey. I really don't want to respond to you, Monkey. Well, here no, Monkey. I am not a member of the PNCR. Only members of the PNCR can vote. I repeat, Monkey. Monkey. Only members of the PNCR can vote. For the next leader or next representatives of the PNCR, Monkey. I can't vote. I could only offer an opinion. That is why I want those who can vote, let them decide amongst themselves. I can't vote. I'm not a member of the PNCR, so I can't vote. I can't vote for any of them. I can just give my opinion. Monkey. How monkey? Now, Norman Brown said something about Mr. Joseph Harmon. Joseph Harmon, for many of you would know, this is the first time in the history of the PNCR. I can't recall any other time, right, that the leader of the PNCR is not the opposition leader. I cannot remember. Usually it's the leader of the party who becomes the opposition leader. So Joseph Harmon is opposition leader by default. Simple as that, by default. I'll talk about that some other time. Somebody's saying, it doesn't, look, this doesn't add up. You cannot vote. Petal Brown. If you are not a member, if you do not have a party card for a political party, you're not registered, you don't have a party card, you cannot vote. Simple as that. Oh man, monkey don't ask the question. Petal come now and following up with monkey now. Petal is saying, Mark, Yes, Mark, you can vote. No, Petal, I can't vote. I cannot vote. And if Asante and all the others, Michelle Lumpkin and all of them, and Kim Walker, if they don't have a party card for the People's National Congress, if they're not members, if they're not a paid member of the PNC, they cannot vote at Congress. Oh, man. Forget about Monkey. We know where Monkey coming from. But Petal, no. If you're not a member, you cannot vote at all. As simple as that. And even if you have a Facebook membership card, you can't vote either. So all of you supporters on Facebook who are not members of the party, but you have a Facebook membership card, you can't vote at all. I notice Bonita Seymour seems to be fixated with David Arthur Granger. She's asking, where is Mr. Granger? Oh, man. You want me to wake the guy up now at 10:36? You want me to wake him up? I've got to go. I'm looking at some of your comments. Monkey again. Let me get Monkey. Monkey. If someone is selected by someone else, it simply means that that person is a leader. Harmon is a leader by default, opposition leader by default. Usually the leader of the PNC or the leader of the PPP. In the case of the PPP, I believe it's the general secretary. That is exactly what it is. And the leader of the PNC, whoever the leader of the PNC is, will be or is usually become the opposition leader. Again, Monkey. Oh, Monkey. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that, Monkey. All right, I've got to go, man. I've got to go. I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time, right here on 107.1 FM. God bless you, and God bless our beautiful country. It is for all of you to set an agenda, not just young people's agenda. And some of the young people who are claiming to be setting an agenda, we are yet to see that agenda. So long. Thanks to our guest, Norman Brown, and to all of you beautiful people. God bless you.
It's hard to be at peace with the ones who are so discard. It's hard. Them have a knife in your back and them smile it so broad. Help me to deal with the ones them who say them love me when them really don't. Help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd are shout. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. Cause the booby traps with them set is real. I never want to take your glory, Lord. Send your angels to encamp around about me and stand guard. To envy is so easy and to love it is so hard. Let me work for your glory and not for the award. Don't make me ever get caught up in the scream and the applause. And go talk about the blessing and not talk about the Lord. All these things are vanity. I need your reward. Let me be real. Don't put on no facade. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd are shout. Oh, yeah. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. Oh, God, the booby traps with them set is real. Sticks and stones can break my bones and words can harm me. They can harm me. When the evil come against me, you'll protect me. You'll protect me. Father, I need the strength of your son. Jesus. Cause you know my work is not done. Lord, I need that endurance just to finish this race that I run. Help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd are shout. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. God, the booby traps with them set is real. You tell me if you stand firm, cause every little plan you have a confirm. I know them evil plan turn. In a darkness, me a the lantern. So help me if you deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Jesus, help me if you deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd are shout. Help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. God, the booby traps with them set is real. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd